and let us all do we can to build a better future.
See, look, we have to talk about Bernie Sanders. We have to talk about Joe Biden and the Democrats again, because obviously it's being made abundantly clear to all of us that there's nothing that they can do to convince people that, well, maybe we should give Joe Biden another chance. No, Bernie, that's not how it's going to work. First of all, this has been gaining a lot of traction on social media. If Biden doesn't want Trump to win, he should drop out. Political polls right now: Trump 46%, Biden 44%. Adding in Dr. Cornel West, Trump 44%, Biden 39%, Cornel West 4%. This is devastating. You might look at this and say, well, what's the significance for this kid? It's being clear. It's being made abundantly clear. So many of us in independent media have been sharing these polling data, this information to all of you. The Democrats are losing and they're afraid. Do you hear that? They're afraid. I've played video clips of these blue MAGA, vote blue no matter who sycophants, yelling at the camera in their car like spoiled, petulant children, saying, we don't need you, you're not allies. And then they start complaining, how come people aren't supporting the Joe Biden or the Democrats? Because you said you don't want us. In 2020, people were being bullied for having the audacity to vote independent, and it's going to intensify. The Trump derangement syndrome is going to get crazy. We brought this up on RBN's show last night on the Post-Duopoly show, and I want to share this with all of you, and I want to make this clear to all of you. Do not let these people bully you. Do not let Vote Blue, no matter who, start telling you that if you don't support our guy Biden, you're going to get it. Don't listen to those bastards. Don't let them push you around. Look at this information here. We see it firsthand. We're seeing it every day now. And again, look, shout out again to Case Study QB. Biden trying to shore up support among black voters as he hasn't delivered on voting rights, police brutality, student loan debt relief. Biden hasn't followed through with his promises. See, it's not just Trump the Democrats have to worry about. They really have to worry about the real silent majority. You, the 50%, the independents, the free thinkers, and yes, the people who are burnt out by electoral politics. I understand it. I get it. I understand why people are burnt out by electoral politics, because when you have hack frauds like Bernie Sanders carry water for the Democrats, it's quite clear that, again, people aren't going to fall for it anymore. So many people were swindled out of hard-earned money because Bernie said he was going to lead a revolution. And then what do? He couldn't perform. He was impotent, weak, spineless. Let's play this video.
A little politics now. The president, as you say, met with the civil rights leaders. We just showed some images there. It comes at a moment where he's trying to shore up support from black voters, where, Republicans made some inroads, particularly with black men in 2020. What are the Democrats trying to do this time around?
It's certainly interesting when it comes to issues of hate and also things like voting rights, things like student loans. These are areas that the Biden administration has yet to deliver on, and they're very aware of it. And I think something that they have been pivoting to recently, we saw him release an ad recently targeted at Latino voters and black voters, is they're really focusing on the economy. And that's where they feel like they've been doing the best. And those are things that they can continue to tout because they have not delivered on things like voting rights, police brutality legislation. Those are things that President Biden ran on in 2020, and he has frankly had not been able to do because of stalled legislation in Congress.
Okay, let's do a little
again, and let's look at what they stalled on. Let's look at what the Democrats also failed to do, because it's just not what Biden has done now throughout his administration. But let's look at the long, sad history of Democrats, and let's look at Roe v. Wade and where they stand. The history of Democrats refusing to codify Roe v. Wade when they could have. Jimmy Carter, supermajority, 1977 to 1979, majority. Bill Clinton, full majority, 1993 to 1995. Barack Obama, supermajority for 72 days, majority from 2009 to 2011. Joe Biden, full majority, 2021 to 2023. When Democrats say we didn't have enough votes and then fundraise for anti-abortion Democrats over pro-choice Democrats. They are telling you they don't support choice. But hey, AOC has plenty of time to get fake arrested. So let's kind of return it right back to the cuck himself, Bernie. Because again, Bernie Sanders is telling all of you that we have to support Joe Biden, that we have to support this guy because Joe Biden is the best choice. Again, look at this. Roe v. Wade, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden. Vote blue no matter who. You need to come to terms with this. Diehard Bernie Sanders supporters, you need to come to terms with it. The Democrats, when they have the votes, when they have the full majority, will never fight for it. And they have plenty of excuses. We don't have the votes. We have blue dog Democrats. Oh, we can't do this. We can't do that. It's not politically expedient at this time. It's not really necessary at this time. This is the thing about the Democrats. They will never, ever, ever follow through. They're not going to fight for you. So if they're not going to fight for Roe v. Wade, do you really think they're going to fight for student debt forgiveness or Medicare for all? Investing in our infrastructure, ending the wars, ending the prison industrial complex? You really think they're going to do that after this? Hey, pink pussy hats. Pink pussy hats. Are you going to do a protest now? No, probably not. But you're going to protest against Trump, though. I want to pull up this video from Nick from RBN. Let's go ahead and play it.
Bernie Sanders pulled one of the biggest political con jobs of the modern era. Bernie Sanders took hundreds of millions of dollars from ordinary, desperate people and promised a political revolution. Now he's nothing more than an ordinary pro-war Democrat. Bernie Sanders had potential to be a leader of a movement, but instead he reduced himself into being a weaselly, spineless, little PR puppet cuck of the Democratic Party. Now, in light of a surging third-party potential candidacy of Dr. Cornel West, Bernie's old friend, Bernie Sanders is throwing cold water and telling people to support the Democratic Party. According to Bernie Sanders, this is once again the most important election of our lifetime.
Again, get ready to hear this over and over and over again. This is the most important election of our lifetime. It's so important because we have to stop Trump, because fascism is coming to America, because Donald Trump, it's not about Donald Trump anymore. No one cares. No one cares about Trump, all right, at this point, all right? He's already capitalizing off of his mugshot. That man knows how to run show business, okay? Nothing that Bernie Sanders says is going to be relevant because what? This is the most important election of our lifetime? Again? What about the other ones? Were they just mediocre? Because I was told that they were important as well. Bernie, Biden, vote blue no matter who, diehard Democrats. You always say that this is the one, this is it. And what comes after? Nothing but BS. Nothing but a waste of time. And what am I supposed to tell my audience? Oh, guys, gals, I'm so sorry, but this is the most important election of our lifetime. We really have to go out there and vote. I'm seeing everyone in my live stream chat. Old man Barker, I know you're from Canada, but this is the most important election of our lifetime. Robbie Burns, most important election of our lifetime. To our moderators, Miguel H., Dr. Nick, Jeffrey Long, I'm seeing all of you. Seeing all of you in here. Screw Google, all of you. This is the most important election of our lifetime. Mastermind Hour, most important election of our lifetime. People watching this clip right now, most important election of our lifetime. But what happens afterwards? Nothing. Nothing matters. Because this is what they want to do to hype up fear. It's all about the dollars because there are enough brain-dead people who are diehard Democratic voters and diehard Republican voters that will open up their wallets and give their money to these jagoff politicians, to these people in both parties who don't care about them. It's all about the dollars. Most important election of our lifetime. Say the line, Bart. Say the line.
According to Bernie Sanders, if Trump wins, it will be the end of our democracy. Bernie Sanders sounds no different than the average Morning Joe, Rachel Maddow, MSNBC shitlib at this point. Bernie, did you forget that you ran against Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and they rigged both primaries against you? He now propping up the system that is rigged against us? What a fucking coward. The job of Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the squad is to shift what it means to be a socialist to the right and create a weak, ineffective, spineless left-wing movement.
Can't argue with him. Because let's look at Bernie Sanders, him being a spineless cuck. Shout out to RBN for finding this wonderful gem here about who Bernie Sanders really is, especially in the fact that, well, when it comes down to war, Bernie Sanders is all in for it too. Let's play it.
But then came the Yugoslavia War, and Bernie sided with President William Clinton and supported the bombing of Yugoslavia, 78 days and nights, depleted uranium, which has left Serbia today with the highest cancer rate in all of Europe. I vigorously opposed that war and wrote a book about it called To Kill a Nation, the attack on Yugoslavia. And Bernie, as I told Huck was a good friend. I forget Huck's last name. He was a professor from the university who took a leave to go work in Bernie's office when Bernie was now in the House of Representatives. Bernie went to the House of Representatives. He got elected mayor of Burlington and then House of Representatives and then the U.S. Senate. And now he's doing this try for the presidency. What was it?
I bet you didn't know that about Bernie Sanders. And how he's with his good friend, Bill Clinton. We got to come to terms about who Bernie is. He's a flawed individual. I don't regret the Bernie Sanders movement because, again, it would not have inspired me to make and help co-found Hard Lens Media. I would not have met all of you lovely people or either that collaborate with so many other great people who are in independent media. But Bernie Sanders really put on a great show in convincing people that he was something that he is not. Let's continue on.
What was I saying just now?
What do you think of his campaign? And what do you think of his bid for the presidency?
No, there was something I wanted to say about this. I hate when this happens. When I get tired, that's what starts happening.
You got to have a Snickers bar, man. You're not yourself. Not yourself when you're not, when you're tired, man.
Yugoslavia War, yeah. I said he's standing shoulder to shoulder with NATO and the CIA and the White House and Bill Clinton and these creepos for a war against these people like this. I said and that's when I broke with him. I stopped sending contributions. I stopped. Furthermore, his salary was way bigger than what I was making. And so when I saw that he was running, and I put on the little thing to see some of the events with 10,000 people, I must admit, I sat there and it was very touching and I was so happy to see it. I was very happy to see Bernie getting up there, 10,000 people, and the powers that be have to deal with him in some way now. It's like a big blister in the way, and they got to deal with him and say, well, blah, blah. And mostly they don't say too much. They just concentrate on Donald Trump, yeah, I think it's great. The trouble is he's still not saying anything about foreign policy. He's still not.
It still doesn't to this day. And again, this video is about Bernie Sanders' first campaign run. And then secondly, as well, let's just address this as well. The war in Ukraine. Bernie, like all the other Democrats, on board with it, one way or the other. It's depressing to really see. Ask yourself, was Bernie Sanders ever really who he said he was? Because he put on a good show. And a lot of people were suckered into opening up their wallets to donate to his campaign, myself included. This is what happens when you hero worship politicians. This is what happens when you think somebody is this great leader, and when they're not. Bernie Sanders has showed us who he is.
Criticizing. The empire feeds off the republic. We don't need an empire with 70 70 military bases, 700 military bases all over the world. We don't need to be fighting 2, 3, 4, 5 wars all at the same time. This is crazy. That's all. Bernie hasn't said a word about those things. He hasn't. He's just not said anything about it. So he's good on local issues. He's really, I think he's a liberal Democrat. He's not a socialist or not even really a left progressive. He's just sort of he'd be a good liberal Democrat. But look at what he says. He says
A liberal Democrat. That's who he always was. Bernie Sanders talked a good game about Medicare for all or student debt forgiveness. He's even gone on the record. Yes, that's right. We got another video of him talking about third parties. Don't worry, we're going to play it. But this is a person who says things that we want to hear. But even he knows about the environment in Washington, D.C. It was never going to happen. Even in the hypothetical scenario where Bernie were to get the nomination. I know, crazy as it is. Let's say he did win it. He wasn't going to go forward with Medicare for all. I mean, never has there been a person who had such a large political movement throw it away. The only other example I could bring up is Barack Obama. He had a large political movement. What did he do to his grassroots movement? He dismissed it. He threw it away. He said things we want to hear. I mean, we all remember the Bush-Cheney administration. Here comes Barack Obama, sounding completely different than George Bush Jr., talking about hope and change. Creates a movement, throws it away. Bernie Sanders captures lightning in the bottle, opens up the bottle, and the lightning just goes right on out. But yet he's still telling us that we have to support his good friend Joe and his good friends in the Democratic Party. Are you not angry yet? Why aren't you angry?
And we want the rich to pay their share too. What do you mean? We want to stop having the rich rule our lives and rule our minds. That's what we want. And I think he could do a lot better on that. And he's going to have to say, it's not just me. I was alone years ago about his position on foreign policy, but a number of other people have brought it up now too. So he will have to start saying something about foreign policy, which would put him at odds with the national security state boys who play for keep. When you get into arguments with them, you got to be careful about your plane crashing or your car skidding and going off the road. Or
there's a person named Hill Dog who knows a little bit something about that. All of a sudden, plane crashing, cars crashing, weights falling down, people mysteriously disappearing. You know, nothing too suspicious after all. I mean, after all, I mean that's never happened, especially surrounding one candidate. But don't tell that to Anthony Weiner, or he'll have himself a little meltdown.
Or a lone assassin coming over and killing you, you know.
Or somehow you're in a maximum security prison and you're surrounded by cameras and 2 security guards there who then somehow fall asleep. Cameras go off. How'd he hang himself? Talking to a guy, first name Jeffrey, last name E. Does that not look suspicious? I don't know.
As John Lennon happened to him, remember? And a few others, supposedly.
In the back.
Buddy. No, not supposedly. There's a big old list. We got Chet's mom saying, "Geez, Kit, who could you be talking about? I wonder who. But let's remember, before this, shout out to Ryan Knight, before Bernie Sanders became a sheepdog for the Democrats, remember, he did talk about third parties. Hey, Bernie, remember this?
Is that the political situation is so controlled by people with big money that working people and poor people have given up on the process.
But what does it take to make the 2 major parties care?
Well, I don't know, and I don't really care. I'm not part of the 2 major parties.
But
Oh, past Bernie. You have no idea what the future holds, do you?
Do you see a possibility of a third party in America? Is that really a practical option?
Well, this is an issue that's been debated for about 100 years in the United States of America. And there are those people like myself who do see that that is the future. There are other people who think that one should work within the Democratic Party. My experience in working within the Democratic Party is that it's useless. Not my experience, I haven't, but observing good people who have. Ultimately, I think what you find out on the national level and on the state level is that the people who control the Republican Party are not very different from the people who control the Democratic Party.
Where I agree
is that the political...
That was Bernie. But we have to remember, again, that when he's called out, people have to address it. And we cannot be unapologetic. So I'll leave you with the final words from Kashama Sawant, where, again, shout out to neoliberal tears, because we're going to be drinking up a lot of it. When Bernie Sanders gave a speech about why Democrats must ignore the corporate wing of the party, Bernie, in 2016, you didn't do that. You bent over backwards and screwed over your entire audience, your entire viewers, your entire supporters, your delegates, everyone that was with you. You gave them the middle finger.
What Sanders has done by endorsing Clinton is not just a tactic or not merely a mistake. Whatever his intentions, by endorsing a candidate of Wall Street, by backing a party controlled by big business, Sanders has abandoned our revolution. He has endorsed the epitome of neoliberal politics in Hillary Clinton. By doing so, he is attempting to turn his political revolution into its opposite. He is now using his considerable authority with tens of millions of people to funnel them back into the corporate Democratic Party and attempting to surrender our movement to the same establishment that we have been fighting against. Millions of Sanders supporters, nearly half in some polls, say they will not vote for Clinton.
As they should. So, what's the final note that we could say for this? Well, brace yourself for the panic attacks. Brace yourself for Bernie Sanders' desperate attempts to make himself relevant to you, the people that he threw away. Bernie Sanders might have spoke a good game, and maybe at one point before he truly got himself entrenched into Washington, D.C. politics, he believed in his message. He believed in third parties. He believed in the things that he constantly talks about. Maybe that was the case, but that's not it anymore. His time is over. It is time for us to move on. I will forever be grateful for at least what his movement, what his campaign did in 2016 and 2020 by inspiring others to be involved, to go further than where Bernie Sanders would ever go, because Bernie Sanders was never going to cross that finish line. It is disastrous for people to surround themselves or put their absolute trust into one leader. Humans are flawed. Every single one of us are flawed, and we cannot trust a politician to lead us to a promised land, because a politician at the end of the day knows how to lie, knows how to scam, knows how to grift, and they're going to try and convince all of you that they are the person to be trusted and that you guys should put your full trust into that. That is a disaster. It is imperative for everyone to be a free thinker. It is imperative for everyone to challenge the two-party system. It is imperative for everyone to read, do your own research. Yes, I'm telling you to do your own research. To be self-aware, to be self-reliant, to be self-sufficient, and to help out your community, because these politicians aren't going to do that. You think Bernie Sanders is going to call out Joe Biden for not helping out the people of Maui or East Palestine, Ohio, or Flint, Michigan, or anywhere else in this country? You think Bernie Sanders is going to call out the fact that, again, billions of dollars are being wasted in this war in Ukraine, or that the prison industrial complex is still pushing along, chewing up human lives? You think Bernie Sanders is going to call out the Biden-Harris administration for the fact that there are kids still in cages south of the border? He's not going to do it. He's never going to do it. He's not going to hold Biden's feet to the fire. He's not going to reform the Democratic Party. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. The only way things are going to change is if we step up. Some of us should be grateful for Bernie Sanders because, again, he inspired a lot of us to do independent media or to create organization and movements to try and bring in change. But his time is over. And when you reach that end, especially when reading a book, when you read the final page, close the book. And I think it's time for us to close the book on Bernie Sanders. He's not going to do it. He doesn't have what it takes, but you do.